Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my wonderful and beautiful little subscribers out there. And how I love you all so, and I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delicious, and that life is treating you most deliciously. So what do? 3, 2, 1, my juicy little lads. Thank you, little lads. You're delicious and bright. Yes, they are, aren't they? Now then, a very grey sky at nearly 2 p.m. in the afternoon in our old England, my delicious little babies. It has gone a bit chillier, okay? No sunshine and very little wind. Okay, my delicious little babies, but I hope that wherever you are in the world, that life is treating you most deliciously and that you're having super duper delicious and beautiful weather, and that it is better than where I am. Okay, my delicious little babies now then. So I've only got one today, my delicious little babies, but I just want to show you something. So I was given this jar, my delicious little babies. Okay, my delicious little babies now then. Yeah, now this little jar, because somebody said, oh, I said, well, what are you doing with that jar? They said, bless them, beautiful, dear little family. Said, oh, no. Said, their dear mum has got Mammy Bear. She's got lots of these jars. Okay, my delicious little babies. Anyway, so I said, well, do you mind if I have it, please? And they said, go on, please carry on, Carla. You're very welcome. I said, thank you. So anyway, my delicious little babies. So it does have a lid. This one was best before 2nd, 2024, lot number 1424A. Okay, my delicious little babies. Anyway, so what can you do with this, right? So me personally, I'm going to use this as a vase, my delicious little babies. Now, I remember at one time you used to be able to buy these next to nothing, my delicious little babies. These days, they cost you through the nose. They cost a fortune. There we are, my delicious little babies, for, just for a jar like this. Okay, my delicious little babies. Usually, you used to see a lot of these jars. I don't know if you still do, actually, in chip shops, where they used to have pickled onions or pickled eggs, my delicious little babies. Anyway, so I'm going to use that, okay, as a vase, and I could always use this as a coaster. All I'd have to do is just put a bit of material inside and just stick it down with super glue. My delicious little babies, just thought I'd let you know anyway. And also, what I want to say, that jar can be used for, I suppose, rice, pasta, pickled cabbage, any kind of pickles actually. If one's a storing, like long term storing, well, ideal. Okay, my delicious little babies can. So yeah, I remember getting 6 little jam jars, the little red and white, to look like little jam jars, my delicious little babies. 6 of those, only tiny things like this, cost me 12, ka-ching, ching, ka-ching. 12 squids, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean? So it's amazing, how ones, there we are, if given a chance, there we are, we'll milk it. Mind you could put milk in our beautiful little jar here as well. My delicious little baby's 14th of October 2025. Now then, how beautiful. I mean, if you wanted to, you could decorate the glass. You know what I mean, my delicious little babies? Like, do it as your own, So, yeah, so if you do have any jars, my delicious little babies, please do not throw them out, because they'll always come in handy for others, maybe if they've got knitting things or sewing things, they can use a jar there as well. My delicious babies, they have so many uses. Anyway, my delicious babies, so I've only got one piece of information today, but thank the beautiful dear little family. They're so beautiful, how I love them all. So not in that way with anyone. They're so beautiful, okay? Now then, beautiful little Syrian family. Oh, Mama Bear, she loves the jars, my delicious little babies. Anyway, so, right, this uploader on YouTube happens to have 4.65 thousand subscribers, my delicious little babies, okay? The uploader, this will be a one-off, my delicious little babies, okay? Happened to come up on my feed. Mind you, I have talked on and off about charity shops for, there we are, forever, my delicious little babies, okay? So, for those my beautiful little babies out there who listen to myself regularly, there we are, you will already know this. Again, my delicious little babies, for others, you know, you will not, but nobody gets to see my videos anyway, my delicious little babies, okay? I think I'll go back to my readings for a while while I'm setting up another. You know I keep saying this. There we are. I may even do it today, actually, my delicious little babies. Just have a little look. Because there is one that I do want to go on, but it's nowhere near as large as YouTube. But I may as well, really, you know, to do a YouTube, my delicious little babies, because it's just not even the information that I'm giving out. You know, I've got books of this, my delicious little babies, and for most of the time, it just doesn't get out, okay? So I'm not too sure whether I want to really continue using YouTube. It's not just me having a bad day, my delicious little babies. I'm just not so sure that I want to continue using YouTube, my delicious little babies. That's just how I feel, really, okay? They're not being fair. They're not being fair with anybody. For myself, this is not about subscribers. I've said that before. I'm not ungrateful for my subscribers. I'm thankful for anybody who's subscribed, but that was mainly to do my readings. I've said this before. But they're just not being fair. You know, not to let... Do you understand what I mean? The fact is, I do not want subscribers. What I want ones to do, there we are, is to ding, ding, dong, dong. That wasn't being rude or patronistic, is to get the information, there we are, that I'm giving out. But I'm getting to the point now, my delicious little babies, where I'm just about had enough. Maybe that's what they want. Maybe that's what they want, my delicious little babies, okay? I will not cut it off totally. I'll probably just do a few readings here and there. But I'm not going to give out any more information. I'll have to go to another place to do that, okay? But there we are. But I will let you know. I've got one in my noddle that I've had for a while now. And some would say, who know all these different platforms, some would say, well, what on earth is she going there for? But, you know, when I was taking a look, you know what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? That one, I feel deserves, there we are, chance, you know, to get larger, you know, instead of, you know, all the others being pushed out the way. For YouTube, my delicious little babies, if you follow me, okay? Please and thank you. Now, yeah. So this is called In Your Space Bar. Should anybody happen to have any form of an interest, is it about 15 minutes long? It's not long, my delicious little babies. Capital A, Antiques, my delicious little babies, space, capital C, Central. Okay, my delicious little babies, as in everything central. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now, the video should read, largest charity closing 200 shops, my delicious little babies. Has the retail collapse begun? Okay, my delicious little babies. Now then, so this is just going to be a quick video, but like I said, I'll probably just do some more readings, but then when I move over, should anybody, you know, want to know where I'm going to be going to, then by all means I will let everybody know, or the few who listen to my videos. You know, that's not a problem at all, my delicious little babies, can. Yeah, so I'll just repeat this again. Largest charity closing 200 shops, has a retail collapse begun? Okay, my delicious little babies, so just need to close my book. We need to go back to where we need to go back to. Now then, I've talked about, you long time, my delicious little baby. Can I just put you on pause? Because my little Maisie, I think she wants to go out. I won't be a mojo, my delicious little babies. I'm sorry about that, my delicious little babies. 3, 2, 1, my juicy little lads. Thank you, little lads, once again. You're juicy and bright. Yes, sorry about that. My little Maisie, she wanted to go out, my delicious little babies anyway. So, yeah, they're going to be closing 200... charity shops, my delicious little babies, okay? And the one that they're going to be closing is going to be cancer research. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now, is it going to be... You need to listen to the video, my delicious little babies, please and thank you. Should anybody happen to have any form of an interest when it comes to these charity shops, okay? My delicious little babies, because some do, they like to, have a mooch through, you know what I mean, okay? But it seems not so much so these days, my delicious little babies, do you see what I mean? Anyway, I think it's going to be 74, is it, I don't know if he said in England or whether he said in Brumyland, I don't know. I can't remember it now, my delicious little baby, sorry. I listened to it yesterday and I've just got the information now and just wrote it down. Yes, so what are my thoughts? That doesn't mean no, just got an itch. What are my thoughts on this, my delicious little babies? Well, straight away, what my thoughts was, okay, you've got the majority who work in charity shops, apart from, say, the manager, okay, or the deputy manager, okay, my delicious little babies, they were usually, there we are, bringing a wage, okay, my delicious little babies, a bit ching, ching, ching. But for the others, it is voluntary. Now, I know this because... many moons ago, I'm going back years and years and years now, my delicious little babies, okay? I did some work in a charity shop, okay? I thought, I just fancy doing a bit of work in a charity shop. But there we are. But I know what the drill is, okay? I know there we are how it rocks and rolls. And to be perfectly honest, it was not for myself, okay, my delicious little babies? Not when you see how things go now. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? So, what is it that I'm saying? So, what came into my noddle was, well, for a start off, let's just say, so I'm not saying this to hurt or offend or upset anybody who happens to stumble across my video or anybody who happens, oh, bless your beautiful dear little soul, souls who watch me regularly, okay, with my videos, bless you all, how I love you very much so, and thank you. For a start off, cancer seems to have skyrocketed, okay, my delicious little babies, especially since COVID, okay, my delicious little babies, and so the question is, very sadly, how many volunteers will be able to work in these shops, okay, my delicious little babies? That's one of the top things that came into my noddle, okay? Secondly, and of course I do not wish it on anybody, okay, my delicious little babies, but this is the truth of the matter, and this has been proven, there we are, to be correct, that cancer has skyrocketed, okay, my delicious little babies. Now then, the other thing that was on my noddle, because we all know ourselves, and I've mentioned this years and years and years and years, okay, that the ones who make a lot of the ka-ching, ching, ching are the ones who get these what they call posh cars, my delicious little babies, okay? I personally do not think that they're posh. Me personally, I personally would never, even if I was a millionairess tomorrow, I would never ever pay ka-ching for a car. Never. Okay, my delicious little babies. That's just myself. I prefer, there we are, I do prefer second-hand cars. I'm not saying that you do not get the odd new car, it looks flashy or whatever, but in reality, no. It's not my cup of tea, my delicious little babies. Okay, give me an older car. There we are, any day of the week. Okay, my delicious little babies. Anyway, because we like to keep the the original mechanics and everything. There we are, my delicious little babies. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So let me get back to the matter in hand. So if we look at how much they make, okay, my delicious little babies, okay, compared to the pittance, the wage that they pay others, and for others, they're just working for nothing, aren't they? My delicious little babies, okay. And of course, for most, they usually, bless them, older ladies, older women, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Or the occasional older man or older gentleman, okay? And it gets them out the house or the flat or wherever they live, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Some in a caravan, maybe. And, so it helps them, because it's all about socialising as well, talking to others. Do you know what I mean? My delicious little babies, okay? So I feel there we are, they know what's coming, okay, my delicious little babies. Plus the fact, I did a video, when was it? It's got to be some months ago now, and I happened to mention, I wrote it all down, where they were putting all of like second-hand stuff. I mean, this was colossal in this warehouse, my delicious little babies, okay? And everything was going into this colossal, massive warehouse, my delicious little babies, okay? Now, please do not get me wrong, I'm pretty sure that they're not really going to be putting much heating on in places like that, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? 'Cause it's all open, isn't it? You know what I mean? So you're walking around freezing your freezing your nuts off, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Should ones have nuts. Others would be fret me bits, my delicious little babies, okay? And I suppose all that they'd pay for is a lighting, a bit of a electric or something, just a, pat test something, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean, okay? So that's, there we are, one possibility. They could be looking at doing that, my delicious little babies, okay? The other thing that's been happening here, my delicious little babies, is that, like where ones used to always donate, well, the ones who are taking over is like Vintage, whatever it's called, okay? And these kind of places now, my delicious little babies, okay? Because ones have discovered, there we are, and the pennies ding, ding, dong, dong dropped. So I'm not being nasty, my delicious little babies, okay? Many, many, many moons ago, my delicious little babies, I used to donate to charity, okay? Or I would go to a car boot. So I'd sell stuff at a car boot, my delicious, but I never made a penny because, like I said, never made no ka-ching, because you had, bouncy castles and ice cream vans and all sorts of things, you know what I mean? So it just sort of went in one hand and out the other, my delicious babies, do you know what I mean? So that never bothered myself. The whole point is the interaction, getting out in, well, whatever fresh air seems to feel like, and talking to others. There we are, my delicious little babies, you see what I mean? But because thousands upon thousands more are now selling online, I mean, eBay used to do it long time ago. I don't know how eBay is now, my delicious little babies, because I will mention them. Everybody knows eBay, my delicious little babies. Well, they used to sell the stuff on there, okay? But what used to get ones with that was the postage. Do you see what I mean? Because at one time the postage used to be really high. Because I used to look on eBay, but I was only looking for, there we are, brand new items. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? But I am going back well over, I'd probably say, is it about a quarter of a century ago now? Gosh, that sounds a long time, doesn't it, my delicious little babies? But yeah, just under a quarter of a century, you know what I mean? But I just used to like to look, you know what I mean? So when you look at it, I'm so very pleased, there we are, that ones have woken up to this. Okay, my delicious babies now. So, and what is it they said? You'll have to hear the video, my delicious little babies, that they're going to put so many millions into research for a cure. My delicious little babies. How many decades have we been hearing that for? My delicious little decades. Sorry. How many years have we been hearing that for? Let's rewind. Well, it's been going on for many years, hasn't it, my delicious little babies, that we've been hearing that for? Hasn't it? So it's excellent what ones are doing. There we are, because if they've spent a lot of ka-ching, even if somebody's spent, say, a ton, 100, squids on a coat, and they're probably selling it for what, 30 ka-ching, you know what I mean? And with the postage, it's probably, I don't know. I don't know these days, because they're flipping rob you for everything, you know what I mean? If it costs you a tenner to send or something, do you know what I'm saying? Yes, at least you're getting a bit back. There we are. Do you know what I mean? Okay. And of course, shoes, boots, all sorts of different things, handbags, tops, skirts, jeans, So this is a wonderful thing that ones are seeing, that giving to charity shops is not paying. Now, I've mentioned time and time again, my delicious little babies on different videos, man. I mean, they are robbing bees. I mean, you can go up to the little shopping centre up the road from where I live, my delicious little babies, and what's it called? There's one called Shelter, another one's the Heart Foundation. I mean, come on. You could get to a warehouse, my delicious little babies, a warehouse, and you could go and pick up a brand new surfer for a couple of ton, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? But what's in the shop windows, these charity shops, is old, there we are, worn out. And, for some of them, just when you walk through the door, there we are, it's just all the different smells just hit you in the birth race, you know what I mean? You'll have some that'll, come from really nice homes, but if they've been stored somewhere, ready to put on the shop floor, of course, other smells go on to the smell of, a decent surfer that come from a decent home, my delicious babies. I'm not saying that ones do not donate, decent things. I've seen plenty of decent things, okay? So I do not mean it's that way, but what I'm saying is it's all stored in one place. Then the smell's going to sink in, isn't it, my delicious little babies? Do you understand what I mean? That's what I'm saying. But they charge extortionate prices. It's damn well ridiculous. And what are ones, there we are, getting for that? I mean, come on. I mean, you'd pay a father, a Lady Godiva, for a T-shirt in the charity shop. You can go into Asda or somewhere like that now then, there we are, or Primark, there we are, and pay ka-ching, a quid, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? So what is it that I'm saying, my delicious little babies, okay? Is that, you see, it's became, there we are, far too greedy, very ka-ching hungry, ka-ching, 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 hungry, my delicious little babies. But let's not forget that what's happening is they're wanting to get rid, okay, my delicious little babies. They're doing the same with office blocks, the same with everything. Look how many are working us, there we are, at home now, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Well, as far as I'm concerned, the lockdown, well, that was back in 2020, wasn't it, my delicious little babies? So why are ones, still working, what do they call it, hybrid? So it's partly at home and partly at their job, my delicious little babies. Some of them only go into their job role, there we are, in the office 1 day a week. Some only 2 days a week. And the rest of it's at home. So what's all that about? Well, we know what this is all about, my delicious, there we are, little babies, don't we? You see what I mean? And they're doing it as well with, in certain professions, in hospitals and things like this now, then they're only working so many days. And yes, there we are. I do know about this, my delicious little babies. Do you know what I mean? So I reckon it's to get rid of, but they've been doing it with the retail. I mean, look at our famous ones. I mean, that was years ago, Woolworths. The Kmart Delicious Little Babies, was it originally American or something? And then, of course, British Home Stores, that went. C&A, that went. Kmart Delicious Little Babies, so the large ones went. I don't think you have in town now. John Lewis used to be there. That's not there anymore. Rackham's, that's not Rackham's anymore. That's like this kind of, I don't know, discounted clothes and things like this now then. So a lot has changed, but if you were to go to our town Brummie Centre or any of these little shopping centres, you will see, there we are, a lot of closed down. Banks, especially. Okay, I'll just let you know, that bank reopened. The one that I said closed down, it reopened. It's called Lloyds Bank. That reopened. So anyway, but the others have gone. NatWest and others, they've gone. Okay, my delicious little babies, I do not think, I think Halifax used to be there, that's gone. So they're pulling in the reins somewhere, but they're also knowing that they're not going to be able to have the staff. There we are. That's some of my thoughts, my delicious little babies. Do you understand what I mean, okay? Because ones are going to be unable to work. And of course, by closing a lot of these shops, it means that there we are, ones are going to be back, there we are, to the old job centre. Do you know what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? And of course, these days, I mean, ones they want to, mind you, they've done this for decades. They want to hire, the younger, because they seem to think that anybody who's over 30 clearly does not have a good functioning noddle, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? When it's usually the older ones, there we are, who are very knowledgeable. Do you know what I mean? Because the young ones are still learning, aren't they, my delicious little babies? Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, in some cases they may be faster, the way that they move, my delicious little babies, with some of the young, you know what I mean, okay? But the fact of the matter is, so you're going to have loads of job losses. So what is that going to cause? That's going to cause depression with some. There we are. It's going to cause anxiety with some. And then once back in the job centre, then for statistics, then they're going to try and get them any old job, okay, my delicious little babies, to get them back off the books. Do you see what I mean? Can you see all of the trouble and chaos, there we are, that they're causing, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Yet, I've said this before, there we are many times, okay? Everybody's chatty about it, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? You're always going to see slot term machines, what's it called, Shipleys? You're always going to see those, my delicious little babies, and you're always going to see barber shops, hairdressers, although not so much hairdressers, it is barber shops. Okay, my delicious little babies. They've even got rid of, there we are, lots of the fast food. Okay, my delicious little babies. So when you compare it to that, plus somebody told me, what did it tell me now? Is it last week? Where there was quite a few pearly shops. Well, I've known that for how long? For years, my delicious little babies. But there we are, they're shutting up shop. Okay, my delicious little babies. So there's a lot going on. Then I was talking to somebody else the other day. Sorry, I'll talk about that in a moment. Then I'm going to be over and out. So what's the point I'm making? So they're realising that they cannot do it that way. So that's one idea what they could be doing. Okay, my delicious little babies, like I said, with the large warehouses. So it means 9 times out of 10, unless you live in the area, you're going to have to travel in. Okay. Well, of course, at the same time, they're trying their best to, stop ones using brums, wheels, cars. Do you see what I mean? Martlish babies. Okay, there we are. So you got all this going on as well. Whether or not they can, push a bit of it online or whatever they're going to do. But the way that I see it is, if they hadn't of, I feel there we are, put up the prices in the first place, Martlish babies, and just be there we are, damn greedy now. Because it is, they're ka-ching, 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 hungry Martlish babies, simple things, that's what they are. Okay? So if they hadn't have done that, then it means that you wouldn't have so many now who do not want to go into charity shops, my delicious little babies. You know, the whole point of a charity shop, as you know and I know, my delicious little babies, is so that if you could not afford, say, and even with like, say some families, say if they've got 5 or 6 young bairns now, do you know what I mean? They probably cannot afford all the time to buy new clothes, you know what I mean? I mean, that's gone on for decades, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? You only have to look at families, you know what I mean, where they'll save the little babies' clothes and everything, you know what I mean? And if they know they're going to have any more, then they will save some of the others, you know what I mean? And like that now, then that's how it rolls, you know what I mean? And larger families, they just save the clothes and pass them down. Well, that's been happening for decades, my delicious babies, so there's no change there. But the whole point of one's going into the charity shop, my delicious babies, is so that they could get, there we are, a bargain. Now, some may go for clothes, for shoes. They may see a lovely pair of shoes that somebody so very kindly donated. Well, whoever's donated any item, there we are, is very generous, most generous, and very kind to do so, okay? But say if somebody's seen a lovely, what they would call a beautiful pair of shoes, that they could not possibly afford, brand new. Do you know what I mean? And the shoes are beautiful and original and everything, you know what I mean? Because you do get some odd bits and pieces, you know what I mean? Martlish babies. Well, of course, then you go into a charity shop, there we are, you get a bargain. Others may go for books, or old stereos or things like this now then. Do you see what I mean? Okay? But that was the whole point. But when you're putting something up and you can get cheaper, okay, my delicious babies, well, 2 and 2, there we are, is certainly not coming to 4, is it? It should do, but it's not. So, yeah, we have to watch the flex there, my delicious babies, you know what I mean? But to put, like I said months ago, to put charity shops in a town centre, like in your Brummie town centre, well, really, that's not why one's going there. They go in so they can go into like the Bullring where we are, my little babies, and go to these more expensive shops. You see what I mean? Okay? They didn't really want, a charity shop smack bang in the centre, did they, my little babies? You know what I mean? But I'm so pleased that charity begins at home. But yes, I looked at some of the comments, not many, my little babies. I looked at enough. Yeah. To see what one's thoughts are, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean? Anyway, I already thought for myself, I thought, yeah. They know that it's not quite working. Plus the fact that, let's just change the subject to sex. So I've got to say this while it's on my noddle. Yeah, Sweden's still having many problems, aren't they, my delicious little babies? And the reason why I know, because I know somebody who comes from Sweden. Well, they live in Sweden. And yeah, there's a lot of it's not such a very nice place. The place itself is nice, Sweden, from what I was told. Well, it used to be decades ago, didn't it, my delicious babies? Just like everywhere used to be decades ago. Nice. And but now there's shootings, there's gangs attacking each other, and so I should imagine that one's wanting, there we are, to move out, my delicious babies, because they just do not want to live like that. Okay, my delicious babies. So that's it. Is there anything else that I have to say? that I could spare a thought of. Yeah, so just watch the flex, my delicious little babies, okay? Because, like I said, they're shutting down everything, and of course, for most things, is going online. So we shall just see, but I'm sure there we are that they've got something up their sleeves. There we are, my delicious little babies. These usually do. Do you see what I mean? That's the last thing I want to say. So yesterday evening, I listened to this channel. Oh, what's it called now? Oh, flipping forgot now. I never saved it either, and I've deleted what I'd saved previously. Anyway, my delicious little babies. So I hear, this could be right, it could be wrong. I do not know. It's only what I heard, okay? Chaos again. Birmingham, Heathrow, everything. Now, apparently, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's only what I've heard. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is correct. What is it called? EEs or something? Well, these holiday makers were all off to, what's it called? Something H, some ski or something. I don't know. Anyway. And, well, I wasn't told about all of this EEs, apparently, or EES, whatever it's called. The staff in the airport never knew about the EES. They never knew either, my delicious little babies. Further along in this video, apparently the airports only had 48 hours to sort all this out. So it meant that ones were certainly not reaching their destination, my delicious little babies. They're stuck in hotels and everything like this now then. Others missing very important events like, weddings, with their families and friends and, things like this now then. Others, missing, holidays, to have a breakaway, you know what I mean, okay? So you can see, there we are, the trouble that they're causing, my delicious little babies. And I think this is partly to do with, your fingerprints, your eyes, and all this now then. My delicious little babies, if my noddle serves me correctly, but please just do not quote me, but I reckon there we are, that I'm pretty correct there, okay? So, but our business has been out for quite a while, because there were ones, even during the old pandemic, my delicious little babies, who were still managing to board a plane and get to their destination, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? But can you imagine now, all of those poor dear souls, how much they've spent, my delicious little babies? Not everybody's got the ching, 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 to be put up in a hotel till whatever o'clock. You know what I mean? There's one poor, because this woman was reading it all out on a video, my delicious little babies. You couldn't see a birthday, she was just reading it all out. One poor woman, bless her, what was she meant to be? Attending a wedding. I think she was meant to be a bride. Was she meant to be? I don't know if she's meant to be a bridesmaid or whether she was just attending the wedding. She said she saved up for months and months and months. She was in tears. So this is all done. There we are, my delicious little babies. There we are, on purpose. And why would they be doing this? Well, number one, because like I said, they're trying to lock us all in with everything, my delicious little babies. But the other reason is because, again, we've all been talking about this a long time. They do not want ones flying. So rather than somebody going on holiday, they rather say, it's going to be too much hassle. And there's something to do, there we are, with the passports, my delicious little babies, okay? Well, I've got a passport myself, my delicious little babies, do you know what I mean? So, and that's not old at all. It hasn't even been used yet, because I needed to get mine renewed, my delicious little babies, do you know what I mean? So it's the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making, my delicious little babies, okay? Well, ones never knew about this. Mankind, I prefer to call them mankind. Mankind never knew about this. I'll get back to this again. So they never knew. The staff never knew. The airlines never knew. So, hello. Ding, ding, dong, dong. There we are. What is going on here? It's complete and utter chaos, but we all know the reason why, Martha babies cat. They're messing everything up big time. I mean, what is it? Was it last week or something with Vietnam? Anyway, I'd already heard about it. Others have been talking about it. Vietnam, is it 86 million or something, or 86,000, whatever it was? You know, couldn't get the ka-ching out. The bank couldn't get anything. You know what I mean? Because of all of this poxy business, what they're doing, my delicious little babies. You know, this is why I say, when a one's going to, you know, stand up, there we are, and say flipping damn well no to this shart. You know what I mean? I mean, these couldn't run up a bloody pee up in a flipping brewery, my delicious little babies. And they're supposed to be running all our countries. Do you know what I mean? But look at the mess that they're making. And all them poor dears. I just feel really sorry for them all, my delicious babies. I really do. You know, they should be able to just go on their holiday. They've saved up. Some of them probably only have 2 weeks off work or 3 weeks off work. Do you know what I mean? And all that they want to do is just go and have a break away. But what's wrong with that? But it's a putrid. So they want you to be, there we are, enslaved. They want you, there we are, to do everything that they want you to do. Okay? But they don't want you to have a break. This is effing putrid, man. And this is why I get so, there we are, damn well flipping peed off. There we are, I'm frustrated. Because there's plenty out there who have these qualifications, you know, these, you know, what do they call them, so-called higher up or whatever. Right, man, babies, there we are. Who could be doing something about this? But yet nothing's getting done. And each and every day in our country, in other countries, you know, everybody's lives have been affected, there we are, by one thing or another. When all anybody wants to do, there we are, is just be bloody damn well left alone. Not having all this flipping effing sharp, man. Do you know what I mean, mad babies? I'm not shouting at you. I'd never do that. Just pees me off, man. You know what I mean? When you know that ones could get together. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay? And never mind to do with the signatures, you know, that 3 million, oh, you know, and they can still do something about it. No, this is illegal. This is illegal. Never mind, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to govern, then you're supposed to govern, aren't you? Properly. But, you know, if you've got nearly 3 million signatures to do the digital ID, Martha babies, well, at the end of the day, that means, there we are, that everybody's clearly saying, there we are, no, 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 no. So therefore, that should be totally respected. You know, not all chaos everywhere else, there we are, so they can put it through the effing back door now, isn't it? No. Martin babies, this is totally wrong. Okay, no, I'm just not happy about this at all, Martin babies. I'm just not happy about this at all. And of course, you know, and then what do they say to the likes of our lovely not in that way with anybody, our lovely David Icke, you know, and they've said to him, you know, well, you know, instead of talking whatever, you know, because you know, you are going to get some mothers to have them over the years, you know. Will give us a solution. He's been done giving a solution. There we are. I've been done giving a solution. His dear sons, their dear friends, other uploaders, there we are done giving a solution. Whiz, man. Anyway, my delicious babies, you know, this you've got to really see now. But I tell you something, I mean, that is just so sad to do that to all those dear souls, you know, going on their holidays or visiting family or, you know, just having a break or going to events. But they did this not so long ago, didn't they, my delicious babies? Do you know what I mean? Is that what I'm saying? So that obviously, there we are, steering in a direction, there we are, for something else, my delicious babies, it seems, isn't it? Yes. Anyway, so until my next video, sending peace, love, harmony, and bright blessings to each and every one of you. May your beautiful little souls, your beautiful little families, may you all be fully protected. And whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, please have a super duper delicious time. You only get one life, my little honey bunnies. How I love you all so, okay? But yeah, it's just paying me off. It's just been, there we are, as far as I'm concerned, it's just been dragged out. You know, all we have to do, there we are, simple things, is just say, there we are, just say no. You know, but when it gets to 3 million nearly signatures, I repeat again, that does not mean that you pass go and collect 200, ka-ching, 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 like a monopoly. No, it does not. Okay, my delicious babies, this is very much love. I'm not going to say anything else. I could do, but I'm not going to. So, how I love you all. So, thank you so very much for listening. You just take care now, and please try to take care of others. Love ya. Goodbye.